Do you know how to transform the organization? Do you know where to start? Basically, we do not know, right? The organization is so complex as our body. Sometimes we do not know what happened to our body. We can feel the pain, but we do not know where the pain comes from. Where is the root cause, right? We do not know, but the doctors know, right? Doctors know because they know how to diagnose. This is how we always relate organizational problems with doctor-patient model. So I would like you to have this in mind, right? When you diagnose organization, it's just like you are a doctor diagnosing a patient, but the prescription is different. One is to prescribe medicine, one is to prescribe intervention, right? Okay, now, how do you do diagnosis? We have no idea, right? We only know we want to become number one in Malaysia. We want to become number one in the world. We want to provide the best service to our customer. Okay, we have all this in mind. Okay, but how do we start? Where is the problem? The organization consists of so many departments, so many components, whether it's tangible or intangible, right? So how are we going to diagnose the problems in the organization? This is how we are going to choose an organizational diagnostic model. And there are so many models, right? I think I have introduced to you around 6 to 7 models. And here comes the BL model. This BL model is very popular. Okay, let's look into this BL model now. Okay. The initial part of this article is to introduce this model to you. Okay, what is this model? All right. So the introduction is about how do you look for innovative ways to enhance competitiveness, to improve the organizational effectiveness. These are the introduction. What is diagnosis? All right. And then followed by the objectives of this study. This objective is about to assess the organization effectiveness by using BL model. All right. And it also shows you there are many models. Right? For example, we have whiteboard. We have covered this one. We have Nettler Tushman. We have also covered this one, right? And then here, this is something new also, Friedman Swamp model, okay? And then McKinsey's 7S model. And then you have the STAR model and then BL model. So these are some of the models that have been used by the author to show the strength, limitations, and evaluation of these models. Which one is better? What are the strengths and weaknesses of these models? So this author make a comparison among the models. Okay, but the emphasis here is still the BL model. All right, the BL model. This is what we had done. Right? We introduced a few models, right? A few models we go through. We go through one by one, and then we decide which one should we use to diagnose our organization. Okay, and our models is being arranged in a chronological sequence from the beginning until the BL model. Okay, just like what the author has done here. Okay, next is about the literature review of the BL model. So if you read, if you keep reading, then you will understand where this model originate from. All right, from the first originator, and then after that it has been improved, all right, improved by Burke and Bigby. All right, so you keep reading, keep reading. You can see this is a lengthy article. Then after this, it started to explain about transformational factors. This is the first level, right? Still remember the first layer. Okay, transformational factors affecting organizational performance and effectiveness. So from here you understand what the factors are actually telling us. All right. You understand the content of the components. Okay, if you read here, if you read from here, the transformational factors, and then we proceed to transactional factors. All right. Okay. Then this is the whole thing. This is the whole model. Okay, for the whole model, start with external environment. Okay, start with external environment, then it moves downward. This is always moving downward. Okay, all right. The higher the level, the more important the level. So we can see from here, transformational factors is the most important level in the organization. So when you do diagnosis, you should do from top to bottom, because the flow is going to be like that, downward from top to bottom. Okay, so this is figure 1. All right, figure 1, where you had actually gone through this during our previous presentation. All right. Okay, next the author starts with research design. This is the research design. How do we use this framework? So actually there are many steps. There are many steps of research that we have to go through. Okay, but unfortunately, this is a module, right? This is a module. If you are going to use this in your action research, then you can do that. You can do that because it is time consuming. And then you have to follow all the research methods. All right. But in this particular MSTO module, I cannot ask you to do that, right? Because this is a lengthy procedures, lengthy procedures. But I need to explain it to you, right? Because I saw some of your feedback. You need to understand how can we use this framework to diagnose. All right. So I have to explain it to you. Okay. So the research design is actually a qualitative method. All right, a qualitative method like what we did. We ask questions. Okay, we ask questions to the respondents. But of course, it's not that simple like what we had done in the previous meeting. Just select one interviewee, and then we have a few interviewers, and then one is to record all the findings, and the other two is asking questions, right, to the interviewee. This is a simulated scenario, right? A simulated scenario because we have cut it short. But in actual research, when you want to do diagnosis in an organization, okay, you must spend like 3 to 4 months in one semester to actually do the diagnosis in a thorough manner, right? To go through all these research procedures or research method. So you have to establish questions, all right? You have to establish questions. You have to know your research setting. And then you have to know your data collection methods, which is interviews, right? Interviews. So before you do the interview, you have to know what is the nature of business of your organization. So in this case, this is a hotel, if not mistaken. This is a hotel, all right? So you can see this author has actually displayed all the departments, all right, from housekeeping to laundry, maintenance, room division, sales and accounts, and etc., until food and beverage, right? And he has actually identified the number of participants as well. Number of participants to participate in the interview activity. So you can see here the number of participants. Executive managers 11, housekeeping and laundry you got 10, and total up to 158. Okay, 158. And then the question. Yes.
Just ask about something here.
Yeah.
In our FAPB, is it necessarily to be a big corporate, or it can be small micro business?
This is depend on the size of the organization. So if your organization, it can be any size, right? It can be any size.
I mean, for our FEP, is it necessarily to be a big company, or we can just go, for example, with our actual research company, which is a small company. Like,
Yes, yes, yes. You can go for a small company. It does not you know, compulsory to use a big company. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, okay, yeah, Tariq.
yes, okay.
All right. All right, let me continue. Yeah. Okay. The questions now is about the questions. So your interview questions is just like what you had done in the previous meeting. You ask questions, right? But your questions are not structured. But when you come to a research, you have to establish structured questions. So these questions in table 3 is all the interview questions structured 1, 2, 3 until 15. All right. So these questions must be reliable, must be validated, so that you can produce a reliable result. Okay. These are long procedures. These are long procedures. These are something to do with research. All right, research. But you have to understand all this so that you know how you can establish the flow. Right. Okay. After these questions, you start to form groups. Right. You start to form groups from the departments. All right. You start to form groups because you want to ask questions. Because this author is going to diagnose the whole organization. It is not about one department. It's not about food and beverage. F&B is not about housekeeping and laundry. It's about the whole hotel, right? It's about the whole hotel. So he has to use a certain period of time to go through all the departments to ask questions. And some more, he has 158 respondents. All right? Okay? So focus groups. Then after that, he started to interview, right? He started to interview the focus groups and then started to collect data, all right? Collect data. Okay, so how he put his data? This is the flowchart summarizing the whole process. All right, whole process from identification of objective, you know, to selection of research method, and then select the BL model, go to data collection. All right, data collection, conduct interviews, and then report the results. This is where we are going to discuss now. Report the results. How you report the results after you interview them, you know, get all the information. How you organize. How you organize to become the flow. All right. Okay, you see how he did, huh? All right.
Doctor,
Well,
can I ask you a question on
yes,
this diagram before we go?
yes, yes.
In this flow chart, they are showing the action research. He selected, the researcher selected the research method, which is action research strategy.
Yeah.
From my understanding, this is one of the planned plan change model, the planned transformation model, which we are going to use in the implementation of the intervention itself. So if my understanding correct, this should be a next step after the diagnosis.
This BL model is a diagnostic model. It's a
I'm talking
diagnostic
about the
model.
action research. The,
Action
in
research.
class, in
Action
class number,
research.
I think 2 or 3, you have advised us that there is a change management model, right? And one of these change management model was the action research itself.
Yes.
So as by my understanding, it is used in the intervention implementation. When we want to implement the change, the transformation in the organization, we can select one of these models: force field
No.
analysis, action research.
No, this is a diagnostic model, organizational diagnostic model. Intervention is intervention. That is different. In action research, before you go for planned intervention, you have to do a diagnosis, right? You have to do a diagnosis. But how do you do diagnosis? You use a fishbone. That is a very typical method. to use as a diagnosis diagnosis model. But actually in this module MSTO, I am introducing the actual method of doing a diagnosis. You have to select this organizational diagnostic model, right? Rather than to use a tool for your action research. All right. Do you get what I mean?
Yes, I mean we are not going to diagnose a problem, a real problem in a big in organization using fishbone or SWOT analysis or whatsoever.
No,
We must.
if you really want to do a complete action research, this is the extent that you have to go to. This is the extent. But in your MBA action research, I think that is different thing, right? You need to follow the structure of the MBA this AR scheme, right? But now I'm trying to explain. I'm trying to explain in depth. In depth. Actually, you know, this diagnosis itself actually is very detailed. Actually, it's very detailed. If you want to understand it, all right.
So what is the use of these plant chain models, like positive model, Kotler model, force field analysis model? What is the use of them?
Oh, that is for change management. That is for change management. Action research is one of them, and then positive model is one of them, right? Positive model is one of them, and then the other one, the Kotler's 8-step, that is another model, because there are different perspectives of change management. But when we come to organizational diagnostic model, this is a typical step that you have to go through before you can introduce intervention.
Okay.
Yeah, because diagnosis is very important. Regardless of which model you are going to use, diagnosis, you have to do it. Whether you're using action research, positive model, or Kotler's 8-step, or another Kurtwin's model, you have to go through diagnosis as well. Because without diagnosis, you do not know where is the problem come from. So when you come to BL model, okay, this is the details. This is the details to explain, all right, how we are actually can conclude the whole thing in a flow chart. So the details are consist of many steps, many steps. So this is the flow, all right? This is the flow. So after you have interviewed the clients and respondents, then you start to collect data. Then you interpret, and then you present in the BL flowchart. Okay. So the results, you can see here the results, all right? The results. The teams are the components. Okay, the components actually is coming from the BL model. You have motivation, you have management practices, external environment. All right, all these are teams. Okay, all these are teams. So when you ask one question, of course, the respondents will answer in many ways, right? In many ways, different ideas, different suggestions, but you have to collect all this data, all right, all this information, and then you put all this information according to the theme. Okay, for example, table 4, you have question number 1. So when you ask question number 1, you get different kind of answers, different kind of information. So you have to slot in all this information according to the components, or here we call it themes, all right? Okay. For example, motivation, if they are mentioning about good salary, wages compatible with production of employees and nature of work, then this is something to do with motivation, right? So you have to put this statement under motivation. This is how they collect data, okay? They collect data, and then they run analysis. And then where they get this statement has been repeated many times by the respondents, all right? By the respondents, then they will identify this statement as critical. Then they will put into the component, all right? So this is how they use qualitative research to put all these statements or information according to the component. Okay, so these are the examples. For example, question 1, you have all those statements have been retrieved and put into the respective categories, all right, the themes. Then you have question number 2, you do the same thing. Okay, you collect all information when you ask question number 2 from the respondents. Then you compile all the information, you run analysis, and then you conclude the statement of the analysis and you put into the categories of the BL model. The BL model here, you have climate, individual, performance, management practices, right? All these categories. So you put it in, all right? Then you go to question number 3. Then you go to question number 4. So in this case, this author has 4 questions. Has 4 questions to ask the respondent. So he collected all the findings, all the response from the respondents, and then run analysis, all right? And then he put all the information according to the components of the BL. Okay. Then he ranked the information according to low priority and high priority. This is what I have told you before. All right. You can't do it all together. So you have to present to the executive management to rank your findings. Which one has higher risk? Which one has lower risk, right? So high risk should be prioritized. Next, followed by low risk. So after you have prioritized it, then only you put into this flow. This is how we produce the final product of our BL model. So now you can see all the detailed steps, right? I think initially in the previous meeting, you just use the model straight away. Okay, you ask questions, the respondent reply, and then you start to put it in, right? You start to put it in. Okay, this is positive, this is negative, this is positive, this is negative. And then after that, I ask you to prioritize, right? I ask you to prioritize, okay, which component has the most negative remarks? And then from the negative remarks, you can prioritize it. All right. So this is the final result, the final results of the BL model. Do you understand what I mean? Do you get a clear picture on how to actually use BL model in an actual research? So if you are a consultant, all right, if you are a consultant, if you want to actually diagnose the organization by using BL model, these are the steps that you have to know. And you have to execute all these steps in order to get this flow chart, right? So these are the steps with research procedures, research protocols that you have to adhere to. All right. But we cannot go to this extent. I mean, in this particular module, right, we have many things to cover. BL model is just one of the diagnostic models that we are going to learn. Right. So I cannot expect you to do like this research, to start from the beginning, to do the whole organizational diagnosis and to select respondents, to do qualitative method, run the analysis, and finally you produce this flowchart. I can't ask you to do that unless you are actually doing a research or an excellent research for 1 year, for example. Then you can go to this extent. All right. But what we need to do is we need to know how you can produce this one, right? At least you know how to follow the flow, okay? To ask questions, to identify positive and negative scenario, all right, and then to put into the flowchart according to the categories. Then after that, you can prioritize it. All right. So this is about BL model. So in actual scenario, if you want to know how you can practically use this model, this is the way. All right. This is the way where if you are a consultant, when you go to an organization, then they hire you. All right. They hire you to transform the organization. And this is the initial part that you have to carry out. You have to do a thorough diagnosis of the organization. Then you can only present reliable and validated findings. Because you interview your respondents, right? Cover the whole hotel, right? For example, just now, 150 over respondents. That you may need few months, right? Few months, and then you may need to run analysis. And at the end of the day, you produce this report and you report to the executive management. And from there, you sit together with the executive management to prioritize all these positive and negative remarks in terms of high risk and low risk. And from there, we identify interventions. Here, the interventions comes in, right? Otherwise, how can we identify interventions without knowing what are the critical misalignment areas, right? What are the critical problems? What are the prioritized problems? We cannot simply put in any intervention, right? Because these interventions need manpower, need material, need time, need money, right? So we can't do it by simply presenting to the management saying that I need this amount of money, I have these interventions, and we will produce, the best results. We must have a very fundamental background, right? Very robust and rigor background, rigor findings to show to the management, saying that you must agree with me, all right? Or let's discuss. These are the prioritized area. Then you convince them, right? You convince them, and they are willing to allocate resources for you to implement intervention, right? This only makes sense. Is that clear, ladies and gentlemen? Do you have any questions? So it's not that simple, ladies and gentlemen. It's not that simple. If you want to understand a certain topic, we can go into very details, right? I can go and find articles, find all the theoretical foundations. How do we apply this theory to become applications? So these are the steps. These are the steps that we have to go through. All right. Then we call it action research, right? Because we make all this become actionable. Without these steps, it is not actionable. It remains a theoretical model. It remains a theory, right? So after you go through all these research procedures, it becomes actionable, right? Is that okay, ladies and gentlemen? Is that clear? Any questions? Are you okay? Is it very difficult to understand? Yes?
I just hope we got this before we start the VR, doctor, because now our plan for the AR already there. So like, it's too lazy to redo.
No, you see, this topic, as I told you, right? You really want to understand it. You have to find, time. You have to have interest, right? Interest to understand all these, diagnosis. Uh, in any area of research, especially, you really need time. right? Need time to understand, to go through all these steps so that you can produce a high quality research, right? So I hope in this very limited time, I can summarize everything. At least I let you know. Actually, this BL model, it is not as simple as what we think, right? Because of time limitation, right? Then we have to skip some of the steps. All right, not only BL, if you really want to know about positive model, action research model, all right, and Kotter's 8-step model, we can have like few days to discuss it. There are so many examples. There are so many theoretical papers, practical papers online that we have to really study, really to really understand, and then understand to the bottom, right, of these fundamentals, of these theories. Then you will become the expert, right? Then you become the expert. Okay? Is it okay, ladies and gentlemen? I hope you get something, right? You get something from this paper. I purposely go and find, right, for you all, right? But because I do understand that some of you are actually, confused. Confused, are actually still blur, on how to diagnose by using BL model, right? How can we get this product done, right? Put in all the positive negative sign, or simply to put in, or what, right? But so I need to show you all these details. Okay, so please have some time to read this article. Okay, this article has 13 to 14 pages. So if you really understand this one, then you know, okay, this framework, it has to be like that, right? This is what we so-called diagnosis. It's not that simple as what we thought. Okay. All right. Any questions?
Doctor, I have one question.
Yes,
So
Dennis.
in the if you look back at the just now the figure 3. So regarding the arrows, right? What does it actually does to the whole structure things?
Actually, the arrow has two heads, two heads pointing to each other, is actually indicating the interdependence of the components. It's a two-way, right? It's a two-way communication. It will affect each other. It will affect each other if there are two arrows pointing to each other. Right? For example, if culture point to system, then culture will affect system. Right? So system will not reverse to affect culture. According to the model. According to the model. That's why the arrows are very important as well. So we have to follow the arrows to relate the components with each other. That's all. But most of the model, I would say, they are interdependent, right? Interdependence with each other. Because there is no one model to have only one direction, a uni direction of arrow. I think most are, in both ways, right? Both ways to interrelate with each other. All right. Any other questions?
Doctor, Syed here.
Yeah.
Because on top of this model, they mentioned about external environment. Is it
Yes.
only applicable for the external environment? We cannot use for internal and so on.
You can use for internal. You can use for internal, but transformation typically will be initiated by external factors, I will say. But I always mention that you have external and internal pressures, right? You have external and internal pressures. For example, suddenly your CEO or your MD resign. This will create an internal pressure, right? Internal pressure. But why the CEO resign? Another question, right? Another question. You may want to ask why. Maybe he wanted to go to another company due to external factor, due to the market is very competitive. You can get a better offer, for example, right? So something happened, something happened to this company. Sometimes you can see it from the internal, but you did not relate it to the external. Sometimes you see it from the external, but it can affect the internal. It can produce internal pressure and internal dynamics that require a transformation. So in this case, the external environment actually can be used together with internal pressure, right? Is that okay?
Yeah, doctor. Noted.
Okay.
Understand.
Yeah. Any more questions? Any more questions regarding the BL model? Are you okay, or is it too difficult to understand? I hope after you have done it practically, at least to a minimum requirement to understand this BL model, we have done the flow chart, right? The flow chart according to one organization, and now I show you the actual details. I think you can get a clearer picture, right? A clearer picture on how you can arrive to this flow chart, right? It is not simply to put positive and negative. It's not simply to put positive and negative, but actually this information has been analyzed in terms of criticality, in terms of repetitiveness. How many times the respondents has mentioned about salary and wages? If you interview 100 respondents, 80 respondents are telling you salary and wages. This is the serious problem in the organization. So can you ask yourself, is it serious? No, this is very serious because 80 out of 100 are telling you salary and wages, right? This is extremely serious. So you have to get this to put into one of these components where you should put. They are complaining. They are telling you that this salary is really demotivating our performance, right? So the motivational level is very low because of no extrinsic motivation, extrinsic, monetary, right? Not to mention about intrinsic and personal growth. That is nothing, for example, right? That's why the interview questions and the interview feedback is very important. I always tell my AR students, you have to get to know the bottom, the root cause of the problem. You have to interview them, right? You cannot imagine. You cannot based on theoretical model and say, okay, high turnover is because of what? According to this theory, it says about supervisors, it says about salaries, it says about work environment, and etc. So all these factors are contributing to high turnover invention. I told them every company has different culture, all right? Don't tell me company in Malaysia and company in other countries are the same. They are not the same, right? So you can't use a theory to apply for all countries. You can't do that, right? You can't do that. You can use the theory as a fundamental, but you have to interview the employees. What happened? What happened to you in this company? Why you want to go? Why you want to leave the company, right? Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? We have different culture. We have different work environment, different supervisors, different bosses. The way we do things also different, right? So we have to know. When you are the consultant, when you are doing a research, when you are doing a diagnosis, when you go to the respondent, you have to interview them. You have to ask them, which one of these reasons actually triggers you to leave the company? They will tell you the story, right? They will tell you the story non-stop because they have been very frustrating. They are frustrated, right? When they tell you, you collect information, then you know which one is critical, which one should be prioritized, which one should be put into the BL flowchart. So this is how we do diagnosis. Well, we cannot do diagnosis from imagination. No, that is not a real diagnosis. You may want to do this for the sake of fulfilling, all right, fulfilling the assignment requirements. But this does not help you, right? This does not make you understand. This does not make you understand how to use theory and make them to become applications. You can't apply later, right? So the procedure on how to diagnose is very important. You have to get it right for the first time. So after this, when you really become a consultant, you can use this BL model, right? How to use it, how to prioritize, how to get information. All right? Any questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Excuse me, doctor.
Yes, Ibrahim.
Sorry, but I want to go back to our FEEP.
Okay.
In such case, we will just show and demonstrate the issue in our problem story. We will talk about this, but the issue that without do we need to put any evidence or any reference, or because sometimes there is a problem with the privacy or something like that. So
Yes.
how can we solve such issue, please?
You do not have to go to the extent to get evidence. You know, sometimes the financial data, financial information that is highly confidential. And as I told you before, this is a simulated case and only a FEEP, right? It's not a research. So you do not have to go to this extent as I just explained it to you, right? From interview, you know, until you get this finding to analysis. No. So what you need to do is just like you have done for the flowchart in the previous meeting. All right. So you know the scenario because it's the workplace, right? That you are attaching to. Okay. So you know the problem. So straight away you use this flowchart, you put in the problems, and then you prioritize it. That is sufficient for FEEP, right? Because I can't expect you to, you know, to use 1 month, to use 2 months for diagnosis itself. Because the FEEP covers everything, right? And then you have 1.5 months to do the FEEP, right? So I think that is sufficient. That is sufficient if you can identify problems and then you put into this BL model if you're going to use this model as a diagnostic framework. All right?
Doctor?
Thank you, doctor.
Yes.
This is Emil. Regarding this organization PL model, right? So
Yeah.
if we already received the result from the consultant, and how do we monitor that it's been, it's been already implemented as shown in the result, and then how we measure the progress update? Is it taking like 1 year time, six months or something like that?
Yeah, okay. This is also relating to the FEEP. So you have to establish a mechanism, right? Mechanism on how to evaluate the effectiveness of the intervention, right? What is the duration that you have to get information, get feedback, see the results, all right? And determine whether the intervention is going to go on, or you want to suspend it, or you want to improve it, or you want to discard the intervention, all right? So the mechanism has to be depending on how big is your project, right? How big is your project? Does your project take 1 year to complete, 2 years to complete, or 5 years to complete, long term, for example? Let's talk about 1 year. So 1 year, how are you going to monitor the effectiveness of the intervention? So maybe you want to have a quarterly monitoring mechanism, right? After 3 months, you want to get some feedback. You want to get some information from the ground. all right, from the ground. You want to see certain indicators. Okay, index is very important. Before you implement interventions, you have to establish performance index, all right? If without performance index, how are you going to gauge the effectiveness of the intervention? You have to gauge before and after, all right? This is very important. You want to use the original index or you want to create a new index. It's up to you. If you think the original index is efficient, right, it still can be used, then you can use the original index. So meaning to say, if the financial indicators, the financial index are still useful, all right, so you can use the index to measure the financial performance of the organization. After you have implemented these interventions for 3 months. So let's see the financial indicators. Is it red? Is it yellow or is it green? All right. So you can do that. Is that okay?
Yep, Doctor, thank you.
All right. Yeah, any other questions relating to this diagnostic framework? Are you okay with that? Or you would like to discuss more about the FEEP? It's okay to me. Are you okay, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, yeah?
Yes.
Doctor, I think Tariq asked something in the group
Yeah.
about the FEEP,
Okay, okay.
whether it is the correct flow or not. But he put in a picture in the WhatsApp group.
I see. If you don't mind, you can share the figure or the photo. If you don't mind, you can just copy down and share with us later.
Actually, Doctor, I sent it already in the WhatsApp group because I sketched it in a small paper.
Oh, okay. Let me check my WhatsApp, yeah. Okay, is this process flow of questions correct? Okay, let me see. Okay, idea must come first, all right. This is the first question, right? You have to identify external factors. Okay, then create a new vision. In order to create new vision, of course, you must have idea, right? If no idea, how can you create a new vision? You just can't simply, grab anything from your competitors. That is not a new idea, right? Okay, you are right. Okay, and then you diagnose. Yes, that is for the second question, right? Second question, you diagnose using one model. So you choose the model. I let you have the freedom to choose the model. All right. So whether you want to use BL, you want to use whiteboard, Nettler Touchman, or TG's framework. Okay. All right. And then you identify the misalignments, right? Misalignments meaning you can identify the positive and negative remarks you put into the categories. Okay. All right. And then question number 3, I think, if not mistaken, you have to explain, right? We have to explain about the misalignments, right? What actually happened in the organization. Okay. By putting in the statement, I think it's not enough because you have to explain, right? What are the areas of misalignments? Then after that, you will recommend interventions, right? Interventions according to the prioritization. Because I believe most of the students they identify many areas of misalignment, okay, and they do not know how to prioritize it. Actually, I also do not know how to prioritize it, isn't it? Because your organization is so big. So what you can do actually in practical is you have to bring this to discuss with your executive management. They are the one who control the resources of the organization. You have to let them know. Now we have all these problems, right? I have actually summarized it. I have narrowed down. But still we have so many problems. So how are we going to prioritize it? So let's sit down. Let's sit down and get your feedback from the executive management. So once you get their consent, a consensus will be established, right? Okay, we do this first. We do this second. We do this after this. Then you allocate your intervention. Then you ask for budget and resources, right? Otherwise, you are not able to prioritize it. I strongly believe it's not based solely on your judgment. It is a collaborative decision by the executive management. I think in any companies, don't tell me you don't present it to the management committee, you don't present it to the board of directors, and you can simply get a big amount of budget to run your interventions. I don't think so, right? You have to get a consensus for the management. So this is how we prioritize. Then you deploy interventions. So these interventions must be very niche, to tackle the problem, to combat, right? To combat the problem. Then you ask for resources and budget. Okay. Then after that, you have to present an evaluation mechanism. So how do you monitor? I think this is very important because at the end of the day, the management wants the results. All right. I think if you are the management a team of your company, you want to see results. So you want to make sure that your downline has a very useful mechanism to monitor. How are you going to monitor the intervention, whether it's effective or not effective? What are the key indicators? What are the key index that we are going to use to measure the progress of the intervention, so that we can present it to the top management later on, right? So I think these are the whole understanding of the FEEP, right? So your photo on the group chat is correct, right? You can summarize it. Then you have an understanding on how to do the FEEP, right? The FEEP is practically related to your organization. We want to make this as real as possible, although it's a simulated case, right? But I strongly believe with your experience, right, at your level, right, at your level, most of you are at the management level, right? I strongly believe you know how to execute, you know how to implement, you know how to prioritize it, right? You know how to manage it. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's still a cost and benefit, isn't it? It's about C and B, yeah, right? Okay. Okay, any other questions?
Can we use the now we are engaged with AR company, right? Company for action research. Can we use it for the FEP, Msto?
Yes, you can use it. No problem.
Yeah. It is not large, it's a small micro business, but
yeah, no
maybe
problem at
because we
all.
have
As long as your intervention is effective, you're able to tackle the problem, you're able to link from the beginning until the end, all right? It's linked with each other, then it is okay, because treat this FEEP as a proposal, as a project proposal, right? So once you have encountered a problem because of external or internal factors, then this will trigger transformation, because you have actually suffered from financial losses, isn't it, for the past 3 years? So this certainly will be very critical. So you have to present this proposal to the management. All right? Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be very practical. I strongly believe that you know, you are very well versed. You are very well versed with your experience, right? We can do it very well, right? With our discussion, with my explanation, I'll do my best, right, to help you all to understand how you are going to prepare a proposal, right? Although this is just a module, right? A module is not a research. but I think you can do it practically, right? Okay. Okay, so today actually, all right, today actually come to our main course. Okay. Let me share with you this. Okay, other than this one, all right, other than this one. Okay, so this is our meeting 5. Okay, 8th of January. We will cover all these interventions: human resource interventions, strategic interventions, organization of the future. I think in our previous meeting we have covered some of the interventions. All right, so I hope you have listened to my pre-recorded lecture. Okay, please keep in mind that you have to listen to my pre-recorded lecture at least before you try to understand the theories and the class materials, because when you listen to it, then you have a rough understanding, right? You have a rough understanding what is going to be explained in each intervention. Okay, so talking about interventions, this is after you diagnose the organization, and then you get the results, right? You prioritize it, and then you get the consensus. You get the consent from the management. All right, okay, and then you identify the particular area, and then you want to deploy. You want to deploy suitable intervention to tackle this particular area. So, do you remember the typology that I have showed to you, right? Typology. The intervention should be selected based on few questions that you have to ask. Okay, is this problems related to human resource? Is it related to human process intervention? Is it related to strategic interventions or techno-structural interventions, right? So these are the typology that you have to understand. You have to understand before you can select the most appropriate intervention. All right. So after you have made decision, okay, for example, you select human resource interventions, then you have to understand what is all about human resource interventions. How many interventions are there in this particular area? Human resource itself, right? For example, you have performance management, you have career planning and development, and workforce diversity and wellness. So these are the interventions that are available, that are common for an organization to strive for excellence. Okay, so you can relate your problems to this intervention. If this problem is about performance, then you have to look into performance management intervention, right? So if this problem is about career development, then you have to use career planning and development intervention. If it is about workforce diversity, okay, you have multinationals, you have different ethnicity of people in your organization. All right, you have different customers, for example, non-native speaking customers. So how are you going to tackle the market? For example, what are the interventions that can provide workforce diversity? How are you going to address all these issues? Because you have different people, different culture, different ethnicity, different nationality in your organization, right? So this is something to do with workforce diversity. And then how about wellness? Right? Wellness is about psychological, mental, physical, and physiological, right? So how are you going to make sure that your workforce is having a high level of wellness? A different group of workforce may require different level of wellness, right? And the people like us in we call it Gen X, maybe 40 to 50 years old. I think what we want is work-life balance, isn't it? We want more work-life balance. Okay, after a long period of time working very hard, we need to balance our life. So we need more leaves, for example. Maybe for the Gen Y, for the young generation, what they need is more challenges, right? More challenges and more innovativeness. This is what they want. So we have to juggle with all these different group of people. Okay, so if your problem is something to do with this kind of situation, then you can look into the wellness intervention. So how are you going to introduce so that this group of people can get work-life balance, and this group of people will get more challenges, more promotion opportunities, for example, right? So this is human resource related problems. How about strategic interventions? Strategic intervention is something to do with what? External factors. Major disruptions. COVID-19, major disruptions, disrupt the production, disrupt the material supply, etc. Right? This is something big. This is about whether do or die, for example. So you have to rethink, right? Rethink how you are going to do business. You can't maintain the way you do business traditionally. You have to change it radically. So we have to use transformational change, right? Strategically change our direction, moving beyond our traditional practices. Are we going to change our business model? Are we going to change our product? Are we going to introduce new product, right? Are we going to approach our competitors to become collaborators? Is it possible? Right? Are we going to have strategic alliance? Are we going to merge? Are we going to acquire companies, for example? Or are we going to form networking or network companies with few competitors or few collaborators so that we can keep surviving in the market, so that we can keep ourselves afloat in the market? These are strategic interventions, right? This is a must, right? This is kind of authoritative instructions from the top to bottom. It's a do or die situation. We have to do it by hook or by crook. You have to look into strategic intervention, right? Do you have any questions, ladies and gentlemen? This is how we understand interventions and then how we relate problem to our intervention. All right. We have to make sure that the interventions really fit to the problem so that we can solve the problem. We do not want to solve one problem and then we create another problem and then we go for another intervention. I don't think the management will allow you to do this, right? I think my boss always said to me, don't solve one problem by creating another problem, right? So if you are having this kind of situation, it shows that your intervention is not appropriate. Your intervention is not correct. It's not actually solve this problem, right? So if your employees, for instance, if your employees always have deficiencies, right, always do things wrong, do you think sending them for training is a solution? All right, we always think it this way, right? We always think it this way. Oh, this employee, he can't follow this procedure, you know, he cannot do things right. So I think he needs more training. He needs more training. Why not we send him for training? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Send him 100% for training. Is this going to be effective, ladies and gentlemen? We must know the root cause of the deficiency. Because is it really he is lacking of skills and knowledge? Or is it possible that he purposely do that due to other reason, ladies and gentlemen, right? Maybe he was so frustrated that he never get increment in 2 years, right? Maybe he was so frustrated because his performance was not appreciated, was not valued by the organization. He purposely, right? Purposely do not want to follow procedures. So there are many reasons, right? There are many reasons. So we have to go to the bottom of the reason and deploy the correct intervention. So if you use a training intervention, that will not make sense. That is not going to be effective because you are not tackling the root cause. The root cause is the increment. It's not because he is lacking of knowledge. He knows how to do it, but he purposely does not want to do it, right? Any questions, ladies and gentlemen, regarding intervention selection? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you able to select the suitable intervention relating to the problem? All right, so let's continue. Human resource intervention, strategy
Can I ask
interventions. Yes.
So the intervention, we not doing all the 12 elements intervention, right?
No, you can prioritize. You prioritize, all right?
So the
Prioritize.
KPI, the indicator only on the selected elements.
Yep,
So
you
because
prioritize.
our main problem is the finance, finance losses. So the finance to get profit of the finance is not our indicator, right?
No, to get profit is your indicator. This is a final indicator, right? Now you have financial losses, so you are in the red zone, all right? In the red zone. So the ultimate goal is to change the red to become green, all right? Or if not yellow, right? So this is the final indicator that you want. But how to change it from red to green? This is very complex. How are you going to do it?
Because we are not implement all the 12 elements, it might be not affected so much on the main indicator.
Okay.
Maybe only affected on the selected elements. From red
Yes,
become
you can
green.
prioritize
Yeah.
which element is critically affecting the financial indicator.
Okay.
Then you select intervention to tackle the prioritized problem. Because when we go for the 12 components, of course, we have so many negatives, right? So many negatives. That is why I need you all to prioritize it in terms of high risk and low risk. So high risk should go first. High risk
Do
should
we
go
need
first.
to show the pro forma or example number in that, or just for conceptual only?
You can prioritize it by showing the number, right? Which one should be implemented first, and then do a table, right? Do a table. You prioritize your problems after the diagnosis.
I mean the financial profit and so on. Do we show how the implementation get relate to the getting more profit? Do we show in the figure like for that, or no need, just conceptual?
No. I mean the figure is after that, right? The figure is after that. Now you just want to implement the interventions. I mean, up to the mechanism of evaluation. I do not expect you to give me the green index after this.
No, okay.
Yeah, I want you to let me know the process, right?
Only the conceptual of the implementation.
Yeah, the process. The process is important. Not the ultimate goal that you get the green indicator. You know that is after the
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me, doctor.
Yes. Yes.
There is intervention, internal and external. External problems, if it is out of hand of the organization. For example, for the cash in from the clients. This is no action from inside the organization itself. This is a question. Excuse me, doctor, I have another one related to there is constraint of the interventions. When we translate these interventions to the two major factors, which is time and cost, the availability for both factors, how can we reflect these constraints within our proposed intervention?
Okay, first of all, the external factor that you said, the cash in is beyond your control, right? I think basically you know the problem because your internal operations does not actually follow up with the cash in situation. So I think something is wrong within the organization internal that you have to always follow up to get money in, right? This is the first problem. Then the next one you were talking about the time and cost, right? Time and cost.
Constraints.
Constraint. Time and cost constraint. Okay. So this is something to do with your limited resources. Okay, limited resources. So from these limited resources, you have to prioritize whichever you can do first. Whichever you think is having a very high risk that can affect your company performance. Then you have to use your limited resources, allocate time and money to do first. Right? Then after that, you get results. You see the financial index, whether it's moving up or it's moving better. Then only you follow. After that, you implement your second intervention. Because of constraint. Right? We understand according to the company financial situation. Big companies, they have more resources, more manpower. But small company, SMEs, right? Micro company, they are having these problems, right? Because they wear multiple hats, right? They wear multiple hats. They do multitask. So you can't expect them. You can't expect them to do this intervention, that intervention, and you have time constraint, right? You have resource constraint. You have manpower constraint. So there are so many constraints. But if you don't do anything, that will be even worse, right? I think this is the constraint of the SMEs. We understand, right? I understand the situation very well, right? We are expected to do many things, right? We speak multi languages, right? I mean, you have to know many things, right? From input to output. So we have all these constraints. So what I can suggest you to do is to prioritize again. To prioritize to get something, in place one by one, step by step, rather than nothing. Is it okay?
It is supposed to be doable. So
Yes.
actually, this is a major concern. Because actually, I'm talking about real situation. We live in this environment.
Yeah.
With every change in the high management, we are in new transformation.
Yes.
Something like that. Okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah, you just mentioned one word, very useful one, doable, right? Doable. I strongly agree with you. We have to get something doable, right? We cannot deploy interventions that we are not capable of doing it, right? It is not doable. It's not achievable. Then we are wasting our time, our money, with all the constraints in hand. I think we can't afford to do that, right? That will kill us. That will kill the company faster, right?
Yes.
Especially the small companies. People will run away, ladies and gentlemen. Right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
true.
Yes. We have experience. You know, we can't do so many things. We only have two hands. We can't do so many things, right? We only have one head. How can you ask me to wear so many hats? Right? This is our personal constraints. Not only the company constraints, but personal constraints, right? Yeah.
Clear.
All right. Any more discussions or any more questions regarding interventions? Are you okay with the interventions? I mean, I can't explain it one by one in details, right? I think if you listen to my pre-recorded lectures, I think I have given some examples. I explain it in details, so I think it's around 30 minutes per recorded lecture, right? So you just listen to it, listen to it, you know, sit, you can lie down and just put in your Bluetooth headset and listen to it, listen to it, and then you can have a better understanding on each interventions. What does it mean? What are the examples why we need these interventions? All right. So anything you want to ask me about interventions? I hope I can explain it to you and by giving you more examples. Any questions or any discussions regarding interventions? Because today's meeting is actually about interventions. All right, interventions. Interventions are very important, as I always told the students. If you do not understand the intervention, you may select the wrong one. Right? You may even use the wrong intervention. You know, the topic of the intervention is not in tandem with the content of the intervention because you interpret it wrongly. All right. So it is essential to understand the intervention correctly. Right? What is human process intervention? What is human resource intervention? What is strategic intervention? Do you really want to acquire, or do you really want to make acquisition happen? Do you really want to have a strategic alliance, for example? Or do you really want to have a network team? All right. What do you mean by strategic alliance? Is it a new entity? Is it a combined entity or what? Right? So after you merge, what will happen? Is it going to make the financial become more healthy of the company? Is it going to streamline, or is it going to have more departments? So you have to use the correct intervention with the correct interpretation. All right. Okay. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Are you okay? Yeah. Yeah. Looks like you know, everyone is so serious. This is a new year, huh? Okay, so new year, we must have you know, new vision. We have to transform ourselves. All right. Hopefully we are getting better. Okay. Right. I always relate it, you know, transformation to our own self, our own body. Are we okay? Are we going to have a hybrid kind of model of working? Which industry is getting better? Are we in the recovery period or are we in the growth period? So now we are recovering, right? So don't talk about growth, right? Am I right? Are we talking about recovery or are we talking about growth? Yeah, it depends on industry, right? It depends on industry. Yeah, so which industry you are in now? Okay, so are you able to grow, or are you able to recover, or you're not able to do anything yet? All right, so hopefully this new year we will, you know, reduce this impact of the pandemic. Yeah? Yeah, it seems like new variants are emerging. Okay, so it's still, you know, we do not know the outcome and what is going to happen in the next few months. Okay, but MBA will go on, yeah. MBA ODL will go on. ODL will go on. Okay, because we are online 100% delivery, right? We are not going to meet face to face. So just want to remind you to submit all your assignments on time to the ODL system. Okay, and also please mark as done, yeah, completion upon completing an activity in the system, because actually the system will capture your completion. We will calculate your completion. All right, we have to get the students to complete 80% of the activities at least to enable the student to submit FEEPA actually. So we always remind the student to complete the activities in the ODL system. All right. Okay. So far, are you all able to cope with this module? Is it okay? Yeah, okay. Samantha, is it okay?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, I hope everything is fine. Yeah, Wale, are you okay?
Yeah, okay. I saw Sabenda with answer yes, but with a no face.
Yeah. Yeah, this is normal. Yeah, this is normal. So you have many things to do. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Because this is online, so we have many online activities. Okay. All right. I think today we will have one presentation from Group 4, right? To present the final question. The final question of the group case study, air parking. Right, air parking. Okay. So I'd like to invite Group 4 to present the final question. And I hope after this, every group will compile your answers. Okay, do a report and submit it to the ODL system. All right, Group 4, are you ready? Please share your slides with us.
All right, I'll share. Wait, trying to find it.
I already shared, or you want to share? I stop.
No. Thank you.
Okay, sure. So yeah.
Okay. Hello everyone. So we are the last group to present. We're from Group 4, consisting of me, Dewanti, Kevin, Patricia, and Mano. So we will be presenting the last question and we will be presenting the last question and what we think is the challenges that are going to be faced by air parking. So Kevin will start first.
Sorry, it's talking on mute. Okay, so everyone, the first answer from our group is regarding availability of the parking land. I think this is somehow a stolen answer because during our previous discussions, this is already the answers from other teams. But I'll elaborate further to give you further details about why is it a problem that air parking will be facing. As we all discussed earlier, everything can be expanded. So it will be a challenge to expand it, but land is not something that you can expand unless we colonialize Mars. So, based on the information that we have obtained, this charts that you can see on your screen right now, the World Bank get the data that most of the land in China is used for industrial usage. But even though nowadays China is moving more towards consumerism, they are not that much of producing things anymore. These lands that was used for industrials will eventually turns into a commercial or residential areas. But then again, as the land becomes used for residential or commercial area or even public services such as parks, parking needs will be there. So the more popular an area is, like the more residents there, the more commercials there, then people will want to visit more, which is making the needs for parking lot is also getting higher. That is why availability of the parking land is something that will be a big challenge for air parking in the future, because even though the volume of the land can be expanded by removing the industrial lots and changing it into residential or commercials or public services. But then still within those areas, such as if you know, one of the biggest city in China is Chengdu, they have a severe parking problem because they are in mountain areas. They don't have any flat lands to create parking lots. So this commercial and residential area are being crammed to get a sufficient parking space. So for next answer, I'll pass to my teammates.
So the second point is the increasing demand will lead to less availability of the parking space. First, user will have less parking space available if the demand grows alongside the lessened availability of the land. With that, it is also time consuming as less parking space is available. Area of focus for the parking space will be broadened to further distance as the city becomes packed with the development, and the more investment with property developers will be needed to gain the parking space access. And furthermore, with the urbanizations happening rapidly in China, as mentioned by Kevin before, finding a parking space in a highly urbanized area will be difficult as more industrial or business space will be built to cater the growing population and economy. Therefore, it is suggested that air parking find a partner to help in looking for the available space in order to get the business to grow and expand in the near future. Next to my teammate.
Thank you, Devanti. Okay. In addition to the earlier challenges, the growing demand will also attract new entrants into the market. Looking at the success story of air parking will eventually lead the competitors to enter the market, where having many players within a particular location will boost up the competition level among the businesses, and this will cause air parking's market share to decrease, and so would have to find better ways to bring value to their company. The barrier entry for other competitors would be less if the new competitors are able to strategically partner with a well-established property management company. Along with that, air parking will also be facing challenges in terms of finding partners to collaborate with them, as the competition in the market is getting tighter and the new competitors would be partnering with more established companies. Next will be, I'll pass it to Pat. Thank you.
Okay, the fourth challenges will be air parking ideology will be mirrored and enhanced by other companies. So what we see in the beginning is that there is a flexibility that air parking is bringing into the parking space that could open up to many companies to enhance the idea into something better. So as we first discussed, our group may have repeated many times that this type of business has a low barrier of entry for other companies to mirror the business framework. Okay, so what happened is that when there is a rise in other companies that mirror the same framework or concept, air parking will be facing challenges in terms of finding property companies to collaborate with as the number of competitors increase. Okay, because we know when we talk about competitors, we're talking about a much better pricing, a much better package that can can fulfill the needs of the customer. So what air parking needs to do is that they need to invest more into research and development to make their ideology to be better in order to be chose. Okay, and then the competition will create a similar service to emerge similar to the competition between Uber and Grab. This is the example whereby Uber was overthrown in the Asian market. So what air parking need to do is that they need to step up the strategies. So the example that I want to portray here is that there is no other better example than Uber. So what we see now, we can see there is Grab, there is even Air Asia travel service, and the latest one, what I think it's something with the red logos. I don't remember what is the brand. So that is what the challenges that will comes to air parking. So that's all from me. I pass to my teammates.
Okay, so I think that is all from our group. So if anyone has any questions to ask or feedback from Doctor, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Group 4, for your presentation. Thank you, Adriana, Kevin, Dewanti, Mano, and Patricia. So, Patricia, just now you were mentioning about the red logo. Is it Lalamove?
Let me search first. I don't remember.
Okay, okay. All right, all right. Okay, so any questions from the audience regarding the challenges that air parking is going to face in the future? Any questions that you want this group to answer? Or you have your idea to discuss here with group 4?
Sorry, Doctor and all my groupmates.
Yes.
May I know, since in China, any culture or language barrier which will be faced by this air parking actually? Because as I know, the language, the common language used is Mandarin, but then actually in China, there's lots of like different dialects, different slangs of language. Like we have in Malaysia, we have Bahasa Kelantan, Bahasa Kedah, and it's the same as in China as well. So is that one of the biggest one of the biggest challenges will be faced by the air parking as well?
Yeah, anyone from group 4?
As per my understanding, everyone in China required to learn to speak Mandarin in school. So it's like if you stay in Malaysia, when you go to school, you will need to learn Bahasa Melayu despite of whatever school you go to. So since they're using Mandarin, so and the writings, you know, for Chinese, right? Even though you have different way of saying, but the word is actually the same, the character. So since it's something that is written, it's an F, so it should not be a problem. Thanks, Wiley. If anyone else want to add up, feel free.
It means in the business term, I just wondering because like as Nelson Mandela said, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, it goes to his head. But if you talk to his head, if you talk to him in his own language, it goes to his heart. My understanding is that in order to tackle the marketing or to tackle the customer in others region of China, I think that is plays a quite an important role in order to increase the businesses as well.
Yeah, I do agree with Wiley on some terms because yes, for expansion of air parking, they will need to tackle other regions of China. But at the moment, they are according to the article, they are only focused on urban areas. So as of now, maybe in the future it may be one of the problems, language barrier. But as of now, we as a group maybe we don't see it as a big challenge at the moment. Yeah, but I do agree with you on some terms of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Walid, for the question. I have one question. Actually, how do you overcome these challenges? What is the strategy that you will use to expand the air parking business? Because you have
it will be suggested for the air parking to find a partner to collaborate with, so that it will be easier for the company to expand their parking spaces, Doctor.
okay. So what you mean is to collaborate with competitors or partners, huh?
Yeah, to dominate, if they still want to become the dominant of in the air parking to be dominant, I think they should buy over the small players, and then create the market so that they don't allow too many players in the market.
Yeah, I think to certain extent the market will become as saturated, right? Unless you're going for new market in the rural area, like just now it was mentioned by one of your members that maybe you want to target some places which is quite far away from the town. Okay, so once the market has become saturated, then this is one of the ways to get collaborations to expand your this market share in the market. Otherwise, I think this kind of business is quite fragmented and very locally. How to say? It depends on the local situation where you need to have a very good relationship or network in order to get a new market, right? So, and the entry barrier is so low, and there are so many competitors, of course, it's quite difficult to expand the business due to the challenges. All right. Okay, so any other ideas?
Doctor, one of
Yes.
the way for air parking to tackle the challenges is that because this is service industry, so service industry, they have to be very strong in terms of the Kevin, can you stop sharing first? Sorry. Okay, in term of the service is that they need, how they going to make the customer around is that providing service quality, and then explore a new market segmentations, and the third one will be diversifications. Like what we see Grab now, they're not only offering ride but also food delivery. That is also one of the way how they're going to reduce the risk of making losses. So that is my idea.
So are you saying that air parking should diversify their businesses?
Yes. Yeah,
All right.
right now what they're offering is that they're offering car parking. So maybe in the
Yes.
future they will diversify into maybe you know, in China they have a lot of if the work from home will be imposed, there will be a lot of empty offices.
Yeah.
Yes, so maybe they can try to venture into that. So that is my idea and opinion on behalf of my group.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Patricia. Okay. So any other questions for group 4? For this question number 4. Any other questions from the audience? So if no questions, then we shall proceed with Kahoot quiz. Okay, let me log in to Kahoot quiz. MSTO meeting 5. Okay. Right, hold on.
Sorry, doctor. A moment. Sorry, doctor. My computer is lagging.
It's okay, take your time.
Okay, doctor, I'm in.
All right, is everyone here? 21 participants. All right. Okay, let's start the quiz now. Okay, question number 1. Some ways that employee involvement may improve productivity are all of the above. Okay, next question.